Hey, welcome back guys. Alright, so I've got another cool tutorial on LScript for you. So in this particular series of videos, we're going to look at how to deal with envelopes, how to create envelopes, and how to edit the data. So envelopes are these things you see in the graph editor here. For example, if I were to add a null object to this scene, the null object will come with a few channels here. For example, the position X, Y, Z, rotation, and of course the scale. Now these are envelopes that show you the value of each of these over time. So it can be super useful to have something like this. So why would you need this, you may ask? So let's say you create a plugin that will move your null object, or let's say it's going to vibrate the null object left and right like this. Okay, now maybe you set a value of the vibration, and that's well and good. So it's going to vibrate using that value over a period of time. But what happens if you want to animate that value of vibration? Let's say you want it to be 0 at frame 0 and you want it to be 100 at frame 120. So you could have something like gravity and you want to edit the intensity from normal to high over a period of time, because why not? So in a case like that, you need to have an envelope like this one, because this is the best way to keep track of a value that's changing over time. So since Lightwave already comes with its own graph editor like here, we might as well take advantage of that. So let's see how to create our own. We're going to learn how to create our own envelope, just like this position X, position Y, position Z, but our envelope will not be attached to any object in the scene. It will be invisible, and you're going to see why that is actually useful. Okay, so to illustrate what we'll be making, it's this little plugin right here. If you observe the movement of this ball, you realize that over time it moves further and further apart. So that's because we've created an envelope here. If I click on the E, we get our graph editor. So we've created an envelope here that makes it possible to animate this value right here. So as you can see, there's a graph here going upward. As the time progresses, you can see the number changing in the plugin there to suit the graph that is right here. And if you look closely at this point here, you see that this is a custom made envelope with the name My Envelope and a channel called Distance, which is also visible here. So this is what we're going to learn to make your own envelope here that contains some data that changes over time. So to begin, let's create a motion modifier that we're going to use as the plugin, of course. So I'm going to open up my text editor. So of course you can use any text editor of your choice. Mine is Sublime Text as usual. So let's begin our coding here, creating our plugin. This is a motion modifier, so we're going to add the script part and say motion, and just like that we have a motion modifier. So, and I'm going to create the process function which is required. So we'll use the default values of MA, frame, and time, like so. And then we're going to obviously need a user interface. So I'm going to add options, like so. And in these options, I'm going to create one control. For example, let me call it my value. I don't really know what it's going to be, or let's say my control. is equal to ctl Now let's use CTL number, and we're going to give it a label, number, or we're going to say value, or whatever it is, completely undecided here. And then we'll have a default number of 0. Or let's try something, a default value of 1. Okay, something like that. And since we want to be able to access this my control in this other function, so let's put this value at the top there so that it's global, and we are good to go. Okay, and also we can have our scene object here. I'm going to say scene is equal to capital scene, like so that I can reference this one instead of the other one. And I can hit save at this point to save my plugin. So I'm going to find a folder here that's suitable to save this. So what we call our plugin, not really sure. Envelope, I think let's do that. Envelope.ls, and let's put my at the beginning so that we know it's not a system plugin. We don't mistake it for that. So let me hit save. And down here, if you're using Sublime Text like I'm doing, you can click where it says plain text and then convert this to JavaScript so that we have some very nice coloring here. And I think we're good to go. So let me save this and go back to Lightwave. Select my no object. I'm going to go to properties so that I give it an appearance, a custom object, an item shape, that is. So I want it to be a bow. I like bows. All right, so I'll give it a radius of 0.5. There we go. So that's good enough. And if I hit the motion options, actually I won't find my plugin here, so I have to add it. I'll go to the utilities tab, click add plugins, and then find it in here. It's called my envelope, and I'll hit OK. So down here it says 3 plugins have been added, which is what we want to see. And if I go to the modifier, I'm going to find it. What is it called again? I'm getting confused here. Envelope, my envelope, LM, my envelope, right there. There we go. So we forgot to add our label there. So let's do that. Let's create the create function, and then we're going to say set description and say my envelope so that it looks more professional. That's our description. So we'll see that the next time we load it, but that's well and good. So what I want with my plugin is a very simple thing. I want the no object to vibrate constantly, left to right, and so on. So to do that, I want it to move. I want to manipulate its position. So I'm going to go up here and create position. I simply want to manipulate one position. Let's say the X position. So I'm going to say position X is equal to, let me start with 0. Sorry, excuse me. Let me start with 0 over there. All right, and then we're just going to add to this one. Then let's add a time step as well. Time step is equal to 0.25, very random number there. Okay, any number, so that we can reduce the speed as we want to. Okay, so then let's go down here where we're going to say we're going to give it a velocity of some kind. Let me add my velocity here to start with. Velocity is equal to 0. Okay, so there we go. Now I want it to start wherever it is at that wherever it is in space, when I add the plugin. So I don't want the position to go to 0. I simply want it to assume the current position at that time. So I will make sure that I set this one somewhere as we begin. All right, so I think in the interest of not making the videos too long, I'm going to continue in the next video. This is enough for now. Let's just try and see if our label is showing, and there we go. So the requester, it's illegal to call CTL number when the requester has not been initialized. All right, I actually forgot that. So let's go down here and let me say requester begin. Actually totally forgot about that. Let's give it a title, and that's good enough. And we go down here and we say requester open, something like that. Okay, that should work. So let's redo, remove, and add, and there we go. So we have our interface here. So we want to be able to animate this number as we move throughout the timeline here. So I'll be back in the next video where we add an envelope so you can see how that's actually done.